Nithyanandam, welcome back to all of the viewers. And now we're going to be entering into our preparation for today's most awaited darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we're continuing on in the 45th Avatara Dinotsava celebrations. Today has been such a beautiful day for all of us Kailasians all across the world as we are celebrating the 45th year of the advent of the Avatar. And having myself been in temples across the world and having been a devotee in temples, I know what it feels like to be awaiting the Avatar and getting ready, preparing for the temple, preparing for the offerings of Naivedyams, and preparing for the offerings of Arati to the Avatar, the Pada Puja, everything as a Sangha coming together in the temples. And preparing now is that time, and I'm sure that each and every one of you are just absolutely giddy with excitement as we are getting ready for the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And as you are getting ready, it is always a pleasure to be able to join with you and set this beautiful context for those of you who are joining with us from our de facto spiritual camp, Kailasas across the world, and also those of you who might not be joining from temples, but also who are joining from your homes and the comfort of your own homes all over the world. There's so many of us across the world, and it's always so beautiful to see your comments, see how much you're interacting. It's always so nice to be able to speak with you, to see what you're doing. I'd love to be able to see all of your comments and see what you're doing on this most auspicious day of the 45th Avatara Dinotsava, and also to be able to interact with each and every one of you on the comment section. So please do comment, let me know how you are celebrating today, how the celebration was, and what is your reaction, what was your favorite click from this morning's message from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for the 45th Avatar Dinotsava celebrations this morning. And as you are getting ready across the world for the temple celebrations, we can always come together no matter where we are in this world on this digital platform and be able to celebrate together. Swamiji has given us such a beautiful platform for us to be able to celebrate, to be able to come together and interact just as we would in our temples, wherever we are. So now we are going to be understanding a little bit more about Avatar and the descent of an Avatar, what it means, and how blessed we, each and every one of us, truly are to be in the presence of the Purna Avatar of this day and age. We're going to be understanding about who is Avatar, how do avatars descend, how is their happening on planet Earth, and we're going to be understanding more of the details behind this very science that is unique to Sanatana Hindu Dharma. So first, who is an avatar? An avatar has no purpose. Just as rain is drawn to parched earth, he is drawn to our plane, compelled by nothing but boundless compassion, to fulfill the longing of millions of hearts. And he hears the ardent cry that asks to break free of the shackles of pain and misery of countless lifetimes of every human limitation. And his is the power and the onus to awaken humanity from the darkness of ignorance into the light of bliss and enlightenment, into the greatness and power of Jivan Mukti. A being of such cosmic proportions walks among us, today revered by millions as a living avatar of superconsciousness, playing in our dimension as a teacher, a healer, a yogi, a mystic, a social visionary, a spiritual guru, and guide for the whole universe. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, unfolds the joyous Leela of his avataric advent, manifesting our conscious advent revolution in the destiny of over 7 billion humans and innumerable other sentient beings in other states of evolution. And what does he teach? Only one profound teaching. I am not here to prove that I am God. I am here to prove that you are God. The word avatar is from the Sanskrit word avatarati, means the one who has descended. In this case, the word specifically refers to the one who has descended from the fabric of the cosmos, the universal consciousness. And the descent of consciousness into the material embodied form with apparent attributes of a human being, of actual descent that happens. This is a conscious descent as it happens from pure intelligence, compassion, and energy of universal consciousness, which pervades all dimensions of space-time. Every once in a millennium, a being graces our fragile planet, the sheer power of whose presence turns the tide of humanity's spiritual evolution. When such a being lives and moves among us, millions are drawn towards him, beyond their understanding, intuitively sensing in him the fragrance of their own inner awakening. Such a being is recognized as Avatar, the divine in human form. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the great Vedic scripture that precisely records and reveals the happening of various avatars of the past, present, and future, describes the avatar in its complete form. The descriptions is in the words of the avatar Sri Krishna, for who but the avatar himself can grasp his full glory. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Idam sariram mama durvibhavyam sattvam hime hridayam jatra dharmaha priste krito me yad adharma arad ato himam rishabham prahur aryaha. My transcendental cosmic body, Satchidananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human body, but it is established on existential reality. It is not a material human body. It is indeed inconceivable and non-cognizable. I am forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I assume a body by my own will. Within my heart is found Dharma, the cosmic truth and righteousness. Far beyond my heart, I have abandoned irreligion, Adharma. Therefore, due to all of these cosmic qualities, people pray and connect to me as Rishabhadeva, the supreme personification, and Arya, the best of all living entities. Brahma Sutras, the authority on Vedanta, reveal the avatar does everything appearing like a worldly man, simply as a divine play, a cosmic sport. Lokavatu Leela Kaivalyam is what the Brahma Sutras say. And once again, also in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 11, it is declared, Avajanante mam mudha manushim tanum ashratim param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Meaning, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord, Maheshwara of the whole creation. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism beautifully reveals when the pure conscious energy, the supreme matured soul, assumes the human body, that is Avatara. The cosmos itself chooses its body, plays the divine drama, the Leela. Then, when the Avatar comes down to the human plane and expresses the ultimate truth, he is ages ahead of his time. Truth is never like a parrot talking, it is like a lion roaring. When the lion roars, you have to wake up. When the Avatar roars with the truth and transforms and raises humanity, you have to wake up from the unconscious sleep of delusion and ignorance. In the Vedic civilization is an incubator of avatars. In an era lost in timelessness, in the lush plains of the Saraswati River in India, thrived a legendary civilization that conquered the boundaries of space and time with the power of knowledge. At a time when human race elsewhere on planet was still dwelling in caves, this civilization had already evolved a precise cosmology whose tenets modern science is only just beginning to comprehend. And we're now going to be seeing more and more about the Avatar and how they are incubated. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, having been born in Tiruvannamalai, the Kshetra, the spiritual abode of millions of enlightened beings who have used this place as a cosmic airport and a beacon which cosmically tells all souls the spiritual kshetra on the earth. We will now be understanding more and more about the Avatar and the science of descent after a quick break. Yes, so let's move forward. This Vedic civilization, the world's oldest living civilization, still flourishes in the Indian subcontinent. It gave to the world the sciences of Vedic mathematics, astronomy, navigation, medicine, yoga, and above all, the sacred science of the self. It is also the only civilization to have produced a living lineage of avatars and enlightened beings that continue to grace our planet until today. The supreme pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, is revered by millions worldwide as a living avatar of superconsciousness of our time, who lives and moves among us today. He is the heir to a 5,000-year-old lineage of enlightened yogic masters who live on the sacred mountain of Arunachala in southern India, which is revealed in the scriptures as a spiritual incubator, where avatars can assume a human form and descend to our frequency from the pure space of consciousness. Now, as we have experienced them, as they have come down onto planet Earth, there are several different types of avatar based on the dimensions known as rays which they possess. Avatars are classified as Purna Avatara, who have 16 dimensions. An example is Sri Krishna. Leela Avatara, 14 dimensions. An example is Sri Rama. Amsha Avatara, which is 12 dimensions. Example is Adi Shankaracharya. The Garga Samhita, the sacred Vedic text that extols the glory of avatars, describes the avatars in Canto 1, text 16 to 27. It says that the great sage Narada explained that the Lord descends in 6 forms. And those 6 forms are Amshamsha, a part of the part, Amsha, a part, Avesha, entrance into a jiva, Kala, a full part, Purna, full or complete, and Paripurna avatar. It's Paripurnatma, absolutely complete. The Amshamsha incarnations begin with Marichi. The Amsham incarnations begin with Brahma. The Avesha incarnations begin with Parashurama. And the Kala incarnations begin with Kapila and Kurma. And the verse describes this in detail. The Smriti Shastra explains that the Purna incarnations are 1. Narasimha, 2. Rama, 3. Lord Hari, the rule of Shweta Dvipa, Vaikunta, Yajna, and Naranarayana. The Amshamsha incarnations, as we have said, begin with Marichi, the Amsha incarnations begin with Brahma, and so on and so forth. So these are all of the types of avatar. The next slide, please. The next slide, please. Yes. The Paripurnatma, or absolutely complete form of the Lord, is Sri Krishna, who is the original supreme divinity himself as the master of countless universes. He is splendidly manifest in his imperishable and blissful abode. The Amsha incarnations are said to oversee the execution of the Lord's mission in the world. We'll be understanding more on the avatar, so many different parts of the avatar, aspects and attributes of the avatar after a quick break, so stay tuned. but millions of births and thousands of divine intricate details that had happened in order to make the perfect manifestation of the avatar on planet Earth today. And today we are all able to enjoy this greatest advent and the Kailasa itself, the best lifestyle, enjoying with the most supreme embodiment of the consciousness on planet Earth that ever existed today, because of a divine orchestration that happened hundreds of years in the making. And it was even revealed in the very Jivanadi of the avatar, the happening of the very avatar, and how he had graced the planet Earth, his very happening and his divine Leela, not only as a manifestation of the avatar, but a divine happening on planet Earth. And there are countless intricate happenings that have been told in order to make sure that the happening of the avatar is as precise as it can be. And Jivanadi is a timeless cosmic prophecy revealed by the enlightened Rishi Agastya of the ancient Kailasa, which continues to serve to date as a 100% verifiable revelation. The divine orchestration of the avatar, the happening of the avatar into Tiruvannamalai happened after meticulous pre-planning and diligent execution of Paramashiva's instruction for millions of beings to manifest on the planet to carry out the purpose of his happening. And it was told that it was not just a few souls, but 7 million souls prior to the advent of the avatar, 7 million souls that descended during the avatar, and 7 million souls after the happening of the advent of the avatar on planet Earth that had been come down, that had literally been ordered to manifest on planet Earth, come down to walk among us for the revival of Kailasa, and along with the avatar for this entire happening to take place. And among those 7 million souls that happened before, and the 7 million souls that happened during, that happened with the avatar, and the 7 million souls that happened after, all of which had their role in the happening of Kailasa. And these 7 millions, these 21 million souls that have come for the revival of Kailasa can be you who are watching this right now. We've heard from countless stories of devotees who felt as though they have met their soulmate just in the mere presence of the avatar, without even seeing him or having the first glimpse, but just within the presence, within just one moment of being in the presence of the avatar, a shift happens in their very consciousness itself that moves their soul. And when you have that deep feeling connection, you know that it's not just one lifetime that you have known the avatar, but thousands of births that you have taken in order to be in the presence of the avatar now. Now, in this next segment, we will be walking through, having a glimpse of the divine happening of the Avatar, 45 years of hard work, tyaga, of ultimate sacrifice, and the most sweetest compassion for human beings all over the earth. We'll be seeing his immense contribution for the world, and also seeing the ways in which the divine Leela of the Avatar had been orchestrated in order for each and every one of us to be connected to the Avatar right now, at this very moment. At this very moment, it is, if you are watching this, it is not because of any coincidence. It is literally a cosmic intervention. And so many different intricacies had to be played out just for you to be watching this right now and be connected to the Avatar. In fact, even before the advent of the Avatar, predictions were made that would tell that there was a divine happening that was about to happen. It was Pundi Mahan who initiated Ma Lokanayaki, the biological mother of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, such that her womb would be well prepared to nurture the Paramashivam, Paramashivoham, the plenary portion of Paramashiva. A few months into her pregnancy, Brahma Yogini Mata Vibhudananda Puri had given specific instructions to Anusuya Ammal, who was the grandmother, paternal grandmother of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and the dear friend of Kuppammal, Mataji Vibhudananda Puri, and the mother of Sri Arunachalam. And the next slide, please. Obeying her commands of Mataji Vibhudananda Puri, Anusuya Ammal took her daughter-in-law, Ma Lokanayaki, to receive the blessings of Pundi Mahan, a great seer, revered as an incarnation of Paramashiva who lived near Tiruvannamalai. As Ma Lokanayaki had gone to receive the blessings of Pundi Mahan, she bowed down to the great seer Pundi Mahan, and he showered her with flowers and akshata, the turmeric rice, and he declared to her heartily, Ammayappana Pirapen, meaning I will descend, I will be born as my own mother and father, as Paramashiva himself. The next slide, please. And upon this blessing, he blessed her that Paramashiva himself will be born as the divine mother and father of the whole cosmos. And just as is per his words, on the 2nd of January of 1978, as the most compassionate answer for the prayer of billions on planet Earth, the ultimate superconsciousness manifested successfully through the body of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. And in November of 1978, before Pundi Mahan had attained the Mahasamadhi, he had traveled where Paramashiva himself had manifested on planet Earth to ensure the divine supreme consciousness had successfully manifested in the form of the newborn baby. And upon seeing him in the human form and being assured, satisfied that he had successfully manifested, Pundi Mahan took his leave and returned back to Pundi where he was, and he attained Mahasamadhi in the 3rd of November, 1978. In 1979 marks the earliest recorded photograph of the advent of the Avatar. Upon reading the horoscope for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Venkatasamy Chettiar was stunned and perplexed as to how to reveal this news to a traditional affectionate mother, the Ma Lokanayaki, without uprooting her peace. He saw that your son will be as successful in all things he takes up, is what he said first. He will create a breakthrough in all the fields that he enters. Then he finally revealed the most prominent reading of the divine horoscope for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, that he will be a Raja Sannyasi, a king of sannyasis. Venkatalami Chettiar had later confided in the biological parents of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism that if you tell him this quickly, he will become a sannyasi quickly, but you can delay the process by keeping this information from him. The astrologer had little clue that it was the descent of Paramashiva that he was reading, and although he read that at birth the very birth was on the very day of Mahadeva Ashtami, the 8th day of the waning moon dedicated to Paramashiva himself. And of course, little did he know that it was foretold thousands of years prior that Paramashiva himself would appear once again on planet Earth to revive and lead the enlightened civilization of Kailasas. And just as the Raja Sannyasis guided and led the kingdoms of the great Vedic civilization, the Avatar has descended on planet Earth, and he was reading the horoscope of none other than that very Raja Sannyasi. Along with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and in these photographs, as you can see, is his biological parents, Ma Lokanayaki and Sri Arunachalam. And these photographs were arranged to be taken when the Avatar was around the age of 2. In 1981 marks the earliest Chaturmasya, the initiation into Bala Sannyas of the Avatar at the mere age of 3. On the 17th of July in 1981, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism initiated into the Chaturmasya at the age of 3 for the revival of Kailasa. And in 1981 as well, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had manifested Ganesha through his very deity. And when offering Naivedyam, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had decided not to eat, sleep, or even move until his beloved deity had partook in his food offering. And responding to his intense tapas, Ganesha, the Lord who enjoys the divine joy, in the form of a modaka in his hands, appeared in front of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and ate the food that was offered to him. This is the very deity that you're seeing on the screen that was worshipped by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism at the age of 3.
Paramashivoham Om Nithyananda.
It was a set of 5 deities that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had worshipped the longest time until to date. And even today, these deities travel with him worldwide and receive the personal puja offering from his own hands. The next slide, please. And throughout the years of the childhood of the Avatar, it was Yogi Yogananda Puri who prepared the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's body through intense yoga for 11 years from the age of 3 until 13, built a nervous system that will withstand the continuous explosion of the superconscious energy inside and radiate it as the power of initiation to human beings and other beings for superconscious breakthrough. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had effortlessly demonstrated numerous spiritual powers to establish the original of yoga, which is to manifest spiritual powers and live as Paramashiva. And as well, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism practiced Aushadha from the great Siddha Narayana Swami, and he was called Totakara Tata, meaning the grandfather who maintains the small gardens around the temple. That was always the way he produced whatever herbs he wanted for his Aushadha preparation. And Narayana Swami was a great mantrika. He was a contemporary of Vivekananda Puri and Yogananda Puri, and he used to live in Arunachala. He was very adept in the knowledge of the herbs native to it. And they would, all of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's gurus would call Narayana Swami to teach the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism the science of Aushadha, which today the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving. The next slide, please. And Yogi Ram Surat Kumar also played a pivotal role in the birthing of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by initiating the Blessed Chosen Couple as well in their marriage in 1974. And after his advent, subsequent to the yogic and Vedantic training imparted to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism began his time with Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, imbibing the great spiritual philosophy of Bhakti Yoga and path to attain enlightenment to devotion, through devotion, faith, and surrender. Next slide, please. And as well, Annamalai Swamigal was another great guru of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who was a disciple of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was a regular in the audience of Annamalai Swamigal's satsangs during the period of his life, around 10 to 12 years old. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism later describes how when you deeply internalize and experiment with the truths, the experience follows. And you can see the photograph here of Annamalai Swamigal. And even until today, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism carries with him the diary that was gifted to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by by Annamalai Swamigal. At the age of 10 years old, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had the darshan of Devi Parashakti in the Unnamalayamman shrine after having taken bath in the temple holy water tank on his Guru Yogananda Puri's instruction. And after receiving the Bija Mantra and going to have darshan of Devi Parashakti, suddenly in the shrine itself, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had the darshan of Devi Parashakti. The next slide, please. And immediately, as soon as he saw the form, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had went home and began carving exactly what he saw. The deity was a 9.5 inches and made of soapstone. And when he finished, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism went to Arunagiri Yogeshwara, whom he was having darshan of at the time, and the embodiment of Paramashivoham, Guru of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself. And it was from him he learned the science of birthing deities, doing the Prana Pratishtha. The next slide, please. In the Vedagamas, the act of creating art itself is referred as the act of divine, where the creation transcends the limitations of humans and enters into the realm of the divine. The source is from the Rig Veda, where it says, Shilpani, the works of art of man, is the imitation of divine forms. By employing their rhythms, the artisans metrically reconstitute and interpret the limitless knowledge of the sacred hymns from the limits of human ability. And from 1988 to 1989, in a 9-month period, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had manifested the divine guru-disciple relationship with Arunagiri Yogeshwara. And in this ultimate guru-disciple relationship, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had imbibed the knowledge of Paramashiva Jnana and Paramashiva Vijnana. On the 1st of January 1989, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism likens the physical ambience of the main sanctum of the Arunachaleshwara temple when he had the darshan of Arunagiri Yogeshwara seated on the Shivalinga to the ambience in this picture. And one can visualize the darshan as well that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had of Arunagiri Yogeshwara on the 1st of January 1989. And this darshan is known as a very powerful Advaita Anubhuti experience where the young Avatar had experienced oneness with Arunagiri Yogeshwara, who had manifested with him for 9 months prior to this, after which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had began manifesting the very energy of Arunagiri Yogeshwara. In 1989, on the 20th of May, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had experienced a profound superconscious breakthrough. As narrated by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, one evening at the foothills of Arunachala, I was trying out the same technique with eyes closed. I had fallen into a deep meditation. And in the next moment, it was as if a door had opened inside of me and I had complete 360-degree vision, both laterally and vertically. I could see all 4 sides, the temple behind me, the hill in front of me, the city on my sides. I could see vertically too, the sky, the rock on which I was sitting. For normal people who only have a maximum of 180 degrees of these visions, I know this is very difficult to comprehend. All I can do is promise solemnly that it did happen. No other intellectual explanation is possible. Not only was I able to see all around, I was able to feel that whatever I was seeing was me. Whether they were the plants or the rock or the city or the hill, whatever I could see, I felt they were all just me. The experience was so intense and ecstatic that it was more than 3-4 hours before I opened my eyes. I felt feverish with bliss, and this mood continued for 3 days. And if hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in the universal form. These concepts can be never understood by the ordinary intellect. In my experience, it was like the light of 100 suns and the cooling effect of 100 moons. Such was the profundity of the experience. And the experience for the incarnation of Paramashiva was something beyond enlightenment itself, as it is normally. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism describes it as anchoring into Turiya, the enlightened state. After a 9-month guru-disciple relationship with the embodiment of Paramashiva, which climaxed in the experience of Advaita with Paramashiva himself, which the Avatar had at the age of 10 years old, this experience was a profound grounding into the Advaita, where the Supreme Consciousness radiated from his body, and the superconscious breakthrough which Annamalai Swamigal nurtured until its flowering was especially important in the grand revival of Kailasa, as after this the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism gave the first ever initiation to his childhood friend Sampath, to whom he was eagerly demonstrating the powers which started expressing through him. And this initiation was the first of millions the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism would give, ultimately for the superconscious breakthrough of humanity itself. And shortly after this experience in the year 1990, the young avatars Yoga Guru Yogananda Puri had arranged for a photo shoot to take the portrait pictures of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. This is the first ever picture of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Samadhi in Tiruvannamalai, in his birthplace. And he would apply the vibhuti in the 16 places on his body as per the Hindu tradition. And he is sitting on the deer skin given to him by Yogananda Puri. The photographer who took this picture was the same person who witnessed and captured him in levitation while training with Yogananda Puri. And one can see the avatar's own handwriting, the words meaning Kundalini meditation in Tamil on top, and his name A. Rajashekaran at the bottom. This studio where this was taken was called Kala Studio, as evidenced by the label in the bottom. And around 1991, before the Samadhi of Isakki Swamigal, one of the gurus of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had undergone by his gurus a super conscious mutation celibacy process. Swamiji says, surely I was below 12, surely I was below 12 at that time. I am not able to remember the exact year. It was before 1991 because Isaki Swamigal was also there in the discussion. The discussion went on to initiate me not only mentally, psychologically into brahmacharya, but to make it a permanent installation of brahmacharya energy, even physically in me, through the alchemy science. It's a very powerful alchemy science. And Swamiji continues, I wanted to put it on record. I am absolutely grateful for all the dedication of my gurus, and I will be grateful for them for giving this great gift to me, for what they have done to my body, mind, and consciousness. It is first preparing the mind for absolute brahmacharya celibacy, then preparing this consciousness, then letting the consciousness enter into the body and making this super conscious mutation process happen. Then all the three, Yogi Yoganandapuri, Isaki Swamigal, and Mata Vibhudanandapuri went to Annamalai Swamigal and discussed. And then they went to meet Yogi Ramsurat Kumar. And then they had also reached out to Tiruchi Swamigal, the head of Kailash Ashram. And at this time, Tiruchi Swami would also used to come to Tiruvannamalai for the Kartika Deepam festival. And all of the gurus had collectively reached out to Hamsanandapuri, who had been staying in Varanasi. And through him, the sannyas initiation was given to keep the Vedanta Sampradaya alive. And as well, the 230th Guru Mahasannidhanam gave the Acharya Abhishekam to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and the Nirvana Diksha to keep up the Siddhanta Sampradaya. And through this whole process, my gurus were preparing my system during doing the alchemy process for me to manifest the super conscious energy, especially for this super conscious mutation. And Swamiji further describes, Hamsanandapuri came with his team, a few sadhus. His associate has a samadhi in Telghat in Howrah, Kolkata, and Hamsanandapuri's Guru Pita in Kashi Mahanirvani Akada. The process needs certain items like Akasha Garuda herb, and that needs to be soaked in the human blood, meaning someone has to prick their finger and give the blood. And there was a few more herbs that should be tied. And it should be tied to Swamiji's male organ and should be bound to the 9 metal chain. Swamiji is here describing the superconscious mutation celibacy process that was conducted by the gurus of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism during this extremely sacred, powerful process. And then Swamiji says, it should be tied on my hip for a certain number of days, and this herb, Akasha Garuda, is capable of even breaking the iron rod. And Yoganandapuri had given his blood and soaked the whole herb in the blood. And they tied the herb onto my body, and they tied it with the ori, the 9 metal chain, and left it for 3 days. And whenever the guru successfully manifests the superconscious mutation process on the disciple is blessed and told to go and manifest this power. So one of the sadhus who successfully manifested this science, who went through the superconscious mutation process physically, was sent by his guru to pull my chariot in the Kumbh Mela. And actually, this footage is available as well of the chariot of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism being pulled by the sheer yogic power of one of the sadhus. And then in 1992, this rare photograph was taken of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with his own personal deities and his sacred books. And these are the deities that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had offered the worship from the age of 4 and until today, and as well the books that he regularly did, the Shastra Adhyayanam, or the reading and imbibing of Hindu scriptures. As the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself says, books and deities made Nithyananda. So this photograph captures both aspects of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, even as he was at the age of 14. And here the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is photographed at the Anandagandha Guhai, which is this rock which had once been with a waterfall in the Arunachala hill. And this is on the way to the Skandashram. And this is a place where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism would spend hours in meditation in this very spot. And today it is visited as a holy place, a sacred pilgrimage for the devotees of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And it is named as Anandagandha Guhai, the cave where the Anandagandha flourishes. And in 1994, at the age of 16, the Supreme Consciousness began successfully manifesting through the body of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and Mataji Vibhudanandapuri began the preparations for coronating the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as her next successor, and declaring him as the 1008th incarnation of Paramashiva. Through this occasion, an official letter of initiation, Mata Vibhudanandapuri adopted the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as her only disciple and the successor of the Arunachala Sarvagnapita, Arunachala lineage. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's gurus thus coronated him when he was just 16 years old, immediately after which the Avatar began the work of the revival of Kailasa. And it is thus 27 years of public life till today. The Avatar stepped out of Tiruvannamalai the very next year in 1995, in the year that his gurus had left their body and attained Mahasamadhi. And the translation of the letter which Ma Vibhudanandapuri had written on this occasion says, Mahala Sri 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 La Sri Pachamukas Yogi, servitor of the Lord Brahma Yogini, Vibhude, who has attained the elevated state by the grace of Brahma Rishi Isakki Mahamunivar, with the wish to adopt as my disciple Rajashekaran, the divine child of Lokanayaki and Arunachalam, and who is an instrument of my love, initiated him and coronated him with a new title on this full moon day, the 10th day of the month of Vaikashi during the Vedic star Vishaka, his given name after initiation, Brahmasuki. Yours, disciple of Isaki Mahamunivar, Vibhude, alias Kuppamal, on the 24th of May, 1994. And these photographs which you are seeing of the Avatar was organized to be taken by his guru as a marker of this auspicious occasion. And you can see that there's a conch and kamandalu to the left of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the wooden staff on his right, all of which were given to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as traditional items that are handed over along with the official induction as the successor of the lineage. And during the initiation, a few traditional items are also given to the disciple as a part of the coronation. And of course, as you see here, the staff that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is holding is one of the items which is given in aid in the spiritual wandering lifestyle. In 1995, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had embarked on the mission of Kailasa, officially leaving home. And at the age of 17, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism informed his parents that he had decided it was time to leave. Later, in the numerous discourses, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism greatly commends his own biological parents for never once imposing their own desires or emotions on him as he informed them of his leaving. And Ma Lokanayaki also recalls this scene with a profound truth, which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had revealed at that time, which made her own father, Raju Mudalayar, and her husband simply forego any amount of depression upon the departure of the one who was God and simultaneously their beloved son. Ma Lokanayaki remembers that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revealed at that time, there is a truth which is higher than me, pulling me forward, which I have no control over, and because of this, I have to go. It was at the mere age of 17 that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism used these words and had informed his parents that he had to embark on the mission of Kailasa. And for Paramashiva, of course, there is nothing beyond his control, but for the sake of understanding of his own family, who related with him from the time that he crawled and then took his first steps, with these words, he consoled them dearly and gave them the strength to put aside their grief as he departed from their lives for what they thought would be forever. And as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, embarking absolutely alone into the rest of the world, he ensured everything he was leaving behind would be taken care of without even having a second thought and ever thinking a second time of the humongous purpose which he was going to fulfill. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism left his own home in order to build a home where superconscious breakthrough is possible. In 1995, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism began volunteering in the Ramakrishna Mutt. And you can see here a group photo of all of the monastic members of the Ramakrishna order, along with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who is circled on the right-hand side corner. And here is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in his own personal room in the Sri Ramakrishna Mutt in Chennai. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had written the very first publication of Kailasa itself, which was a puja manual, which is handwritten and designed by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself. And you can see here the intricate detail to which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had designed this whole manual that is still in publication till today for the whole of Kailasa. And in 1997, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was serving the Ramakrishna Mutt in one of the branches in Kachipuram. And even one of the the colleague monks there remembers how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had transformed one mutt into a lively, vibrating monastery with so many devotees who came and who had entirely sponsored the Navaratri celebrations and Alankarams, as you can see here, and that happened in the year around the year 1997. In 1998, at the age of 20, as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had wandered to Manikarnika Ghat in Varanasi, had the ultimate experience of going beyond death. Here, the next slide, please. And Swamiji says that at this time, as he was sitting in the Manikarnika Ghat, literally he had the death experience, the experience of death itself, and after which the initiation to take people beyond death started manifesting through the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The next slide, please. We can go on. In 1999, at the mere age of 21, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had the divine revelation of the Avataric mission and founded Kailasa through the Nithyananda Sangha and returned to Tiruvannamalai, his birthplace, to offer gratitude to Paramashiva. And as you can see here, the photographs of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in around this time, in order to begin the whole revival of Kailasa. 2000, the year 2000 marks the year of the revival of Kailasa, and keeping the Satya Sankalpa of the revival of Kailasa, the Sankalpa which is today manifested as a nation itself. With this first Chandi Homa, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism performed on the 7th of November in the year 2000. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had inaugurated the first temple, had offered the Chandi Homa, had initiated members, and ensured that at this time the most pristine, most ardent, and most disciplined offering would be made to Devi Parashakti herself in a prayer, deep prayer to revive Kailasa and make this Satya Sankalpa a resolute, conscious decision to revive Kailasa. And all of these homas, the Chandi homas done around these times, was all a part of this Satya Sankalpa. Here you can see the first documented Devi Bhavasamadhi darshan showered by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to the world. The next slide, please. On April 14th, 2001, in a village called Avattipalayam on the banks of the sacred river Kaveri, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had inaugurated the first Kailasa, the Kailasa in Tiruchengood. And in 2002, on the 4th of November, had consecrated the land after finding the land of Adi Kailasa and having a vision of Adi Kailasa, the Nithyananda Paramashiva Kalpa Vriksha, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had performed the Bhumi Puja on this very day, as you can see here. The next slide, please. And it was in this very place, and the Adi Kailasa Sarvignapeetam, that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had literally transformed into a spiritual city, attracting millions of people to come there physically and also watch digitally as well from wherever they are around the world to connect to as a spiritual hub for their enlightenment. You can see here the grand festival on this day. The next slide, please. And in 2002, on the 19th of November, recorded the first earliest recorded Annadhan, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had himself cooked and served food, did the Annadhana for the participants of the Yatra to Tiruvannamalai on the occasion of Kartikai Deepam. And this marked the Annadhan. This marked the Annadhan that now today has served billions of people all over the world and has served more than 1 billion meals. And after this, today, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived Kailasa. We'll now be moving into the preparation for the Shiladiksha initiation and be understanding more about what is the programs ahead of us. So stay tuned and we'll be right back with you after a quick break.